On Wednesday night, July the 8th, Stelly's Market and Restaurant on Highway 71 was broken into and burglarized. The thief smashed the front glass with a large rock, kicked in the office door, and made off with hundreds of dollars in cash. Watch as a man commits his crime. Look at him close. The hooded jacket he's wearing is camouflage. He appears to be light-skinned or white, and he looks to be around 6 foot tall and thin. Watch how he walks, with sort of a lanky gait. Stelly's has been a local favorite for decades. The family works hard and is known to be generous. Always with a kind word for friend or stranger, the Stelly family represents Southern hospitality at its best. If you're the man that committed this felony, look at me, son. I'm talking to you. The sheriff likes Stelly's restaurant, and so do I. The food here is good, and the folks are friendly. We're going to identify you, arrest you, and put you in a small cell. After that, I'm going to have a cheeseburger here with fries and a Coke and leave a nice tip for the waitress. Meanwhile, your next meal will be served through a small hole in a cell door. Because our detectives harvested DNA from the rock you used, and you left a perfect boot print on the door you kicked in. But we won't have to wait on lab results, because you're on St. Landry Crime Stoppers tonight. Congratulations, son. I'm about to make you famous. By tomorrow, 100,000 people will have watched you commit a felony. You will be recognized. And the people that know you don't really like you anyway. So when it comes down to a choice between you and $1,000, they'll take the cash. On behalf of Crime Stoppers, I'm Lieutenant Higgins.
Lieutenant Clay Higgins is our guest. Lieutenant?
I'm here, Michael.
Are you surprised at the notoriety you seem to be getting from these video clips?
It did surprise me, Michael. I have to admit, I didn't see that coming. I was just speaking my mind, and apparently, the country's hungry for that kind of a delivery. Because basically, as I'm sure your audience will agree, you're one of America's top conservative talk show hosts. We're tired of political crap from both sides of the aisle, and apparently that my message has struck a chord.
Well, it's interesting, Lieutenant Higgins. I love Cajun cuisine. I love Cajun music, and I love the Cajun culture. And it seems to me to be the case that direct talk, not pretty around the edges, that direct talk, strikes right down the middle of the plate, are sort of par for the course. That's a mixed metaphor there, Ramon. That is sort of what is expected. I wasn't shocked by what you did because I grew up around people like that. I was shocked that I don't see that on the evening news, because most of what we see is policing from New York or L.A.
Right. Well, you hit the nail on the head, Michael. I have learned through my years behind a badge that when people call the police, man, especially I worked night shift for many, many years prior to my current position, and if you call the police at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're already in a bind. It's already been a bad day. And what people want and need from police officers when we respond is a respectful, thorough investigation into whatever's going on. But they need the truth. They want to hear the truth, whether they like it or not. And they need it in a direct manner. So the way I speak on my Crime Stopper segments is reflective of the way I handle my business responding to incidents for over a decade here in the parish. And it served me well on the street and served me well in court. Courtrooms, juries, judges appreciate a direct answer. So that's the only way I know how to do it.
I'm going to do something I shouldn't do, and that is play an audio clip when I have the man here available, because I want to talk coming out of the break about what he says. This is a speech Lieutenant Higgins gave at a commencement address at the Capital Area Regional Training Academy. These guys are about to get their badge. I want you to listen carefully. In light of all the anti-police headlines you've seen, I want you to listen to this. This is money.
Ladies and gentlemen, graduating officers, thank you for allowing me the honor of addressing you today. I'm Lieutenant Clay Higgins, St. Landry Parish Sheriff's Office, Public Information Officer. As the captain said, I've been behind a badge for many years, always a street cop, For the last 11 years, I've been SWAT, and for 7 of those years, I've worked night shift. 8 months ago, my sheriff asked me to be his public information officer, a position I knew nothing about. But me being me, I just said, yes, sir. It is my great honor to work for Sheriff Bobby J. Guidroz, and my jurisdictional authority covers the parish I live in, as represented by the badge I wear. But my sacred oath is to serve and protect all American citizens, to represent the United States Constitution and the righteous principles it represents, and to stand for the rights established by that Constitution for all my brethren, regardless of color or creed, social background, economic standing, or political affiliation. Serve and protect. That's a phrase you graduating officers will hear many times in your career. I'd like to share with you some thoughts, if I may, about what that phrase really means. Unlike any other, your job began with an oath, a sacred oath, sworn by men and women of courage and character for generations before you. You officers are set to begin your career at a time in our country that witnesses a division between the badge you wear and the citizens you've sworn to serve and protect. The way you and graduating officers across the country uphold your oath will determine the future of law enforcement in America. Today, as a gift from me, you will each receive a copy of the United States Constitution. I implore you to read it, meditate on the words themselves and the spirit behind them. The principles behind that sacred document will serve you well. Touched by God, the rights established by our Constitution represent the very best the world has ever achieved. And it's your job to see that those rights are protected.
You were talking a little bit about that speech when you were asked to come and give that speech at the training academy, and you know, you're from a small department, and usually it would be the sheriff that would go, and not, as you said, a little old lieutenant, and you were nervous about it. It wasn't the kind of thing you did. But it sounded to me like you were trying to address officers in a new political environment with a message that we're going to have to be better than better because we've got some folks out there out to get us. Is that what I heard in your voice?
I was trying to address a larger picture. It was a great responsibility, great honor to speak to 43 graduating officers representing 12 different departments across South Louisiana. And at this time in our country, you know, we have some issues that any man of intellect would realize it need to be addressed. And what better opportunity when you had a room full of young men and their families that are about to embark on this dangerous mission. So I did seek my heart, and I searched my soul for the right thing to say. Yes, sir.
Talking to you earlier, I heard from a man who was very different than what you come across in those videos. I heard from a very humble man who was quick to talk about the failures in your life. And I started doing research on you, and you've talked often about your own imperfections. And I saw a guy that had learned from his mistakes, which I found to be an endearing trait in a guy that enforces the law. And you seem to be a guy that is saying to bad guys, sort of, look, we all have an inner demon. You've given in to yours. Now turn yourself in. Let's get this over with, and then you can become a productive citizen. But I noticed such a sense of humility from your own personal experiences, and we talked a little about that.
Well, I mean, how can you live 54 years, as I have, struggling to be right, failing so many times, in so many venues, and not be a humble man? You know, I'm amazed that everyone walks the earth that's earned a gray hair too is not completely humble. So, yeah, I think it's part of our challenge as Americans as we address questions and concerns about law enforcement from sea to shining sea, and how we relate as a citizenry, as a republic to the forces that are charged with protecting us. And I think that somewhere along the way, there's been confusions about what our roles are. And to me, it's real clear. You know, we're champions of the Constitution, and the Constitution serves us all. And to place yourself above those that you arrest is just, first of all, it's not accurate, and it's certainly not Christian. And I prefer to be both accurate and Christian as I pursue my job.
We talked earlier today, Lieutenant Clay Higgins. We talked earlier today about your service in the United States Army. And then you went into the private sector. You were extremely successful. You were general manager of car dealerships, including one in Orange, which I did not know before we reached out to you. I was fascinated by that. And you decided at some point that you did not want to chase business deals because you didn't like the person you had become, and you felt like public service was still in your future. And whether it was a vow of poverty or not, that you would go back into public service. I thought that was a fascinating story for a guy at that point in his life. Could you talk about that? And mostly because I want people to understand what kind of people go into law enforcement.
Right. Well, Michael, it was to a regular person looking at my life, anyone would say that, I was certainly a successful man, and I was. I had the trappings of success, but the pursuit of that success had cost me some things in my life, and I just knew that I wasn't the man that I could be, and the Christian I should be, and the husband that I had vowed to be, and there was so many conclusions that I came to as I matured and learned from my experiences in life, that I just decided that I wasn't gonna deny what my heart was telling me anymore. So I left the car business, and I could have stayed in it and kept making big money, but I didn't. I left, and I took a new pursuit as a civilian police officer, and I was a trained military police officer, but it's different as a civilian. So, I did that in 2004, and I'm very grateful that I did.
What do you think, Lieutenant Higgins, when you see all the criticism of the men who wear the uniform for doing their jobs, put into tough situations by mobs of people and a media that would be the first to call you and expect you to defend them? What is your reaction to that in a time where it feels like law enforcement doesn't get the public support they deserve?
Well, a lot of the criticism is unwarranted. That's my first reaction. And I have, like any American, you watch things on the news and you think to yourself, man, that's just not right. This man is not being viewed fairly, and by people certainly that don't understand police work and the dangers that we face out there every day. And let me tell you something, Michael. I've been behind a badge one way or another for 17 years, and I have rarely met a police officer that wasn't dedicated to the people he's sworn to serve and protect. And I've really never met a police officer that would knowingly violate someone's constitutional rights. And, we're generally some pretty dedicated folk. So I have watched these, reactions of the country to various things, and I've commented on some of them. I have a commentary online on Baltimore and one on Hattiesburg. And, I pretty much make myself clear. So, but the bottom line is that Americans everywhere, or we're entitled to our opinion. And I think one of our problems in the country is that healthy debate is no longer encouraged. I think we should have a healthy debate, and I think a difference in opinions should be just the American way. We should be able to speak about it in a civil manner. We should be able to speak openly about law enforcement in America and race in America and the problems that we face as a country. But every one of those conversations should be united under one flag by one people.
Lieutenant Higgins,
Americans.
two quick things. First off, August 29th, the Redneck Country Club, I got Wayne Toops coming. I want to invite you and Sheriff Guidreau and all your buddies to come over, and I hope you'll be my guest. And secondly, I got 30 seconds left in this segment. How good is the cheeseburger at Stelly's?
The cheeseburger at Stelly's real good, man. I try not to eat too many of them. And they have the Cajun battered fries, Michael. That when you come, and please let me invite you to come to St. Landry Parish and let me have a cheeseburger with you on me, and we'll get the Cajun battered fries and ice cold Coke. Well, you just can't beat it.
Sometimes I like to have a beer with mine. Would that be all right?
Oh yeah, I'll join you as long as I'm off duty.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Michael Berry Show.
The Michael Berry Show.
Come on, I like him a lot.